Now tonight, a statement heavily loaded with allegations that may have far-reaching effects to the ruling party. A section of legislators from the Jubilee Party and those from the opposition allied to the president are accusing their parliamentary colleagues of plotting to impeach the president. Now, the Secretary General of the ruling party, that's Jubilee Party, dismissed these allegations. They were highly publicized. The highly published meeting was also dismissed that happened in Naivasha, and the president's tough talk on the BBI continues today. Now tonight we are also looking at the proposal around the three-tier government and if reggae is really stoppable. On Sidebar, we take you back 10 years to the date when the Prime Minister finally got salary after working for 9 free months. Look out for Who Said What right after our choice of cartoon for the week. But first, it's my take tonight. And the contention over the Building Bridges initiative has reached a critical moment, whereas at the weekend, critics joined hands with the proponents in Mombasa to push for its actualization. Now, the tenor of discourse has since changed. Deputy President William Ruto's team, which has been critical of the authors of BBI, has resonated and resorted to playing hardball. Contrary to what they professed in Mombasa, they will support the initiative. They have changed tact following their meeting in Naivasha yesterday, stating they will henceforth convene what amounts to parallel rallies to expound on the BBI report and seek public consensus on the same. What is obtaining a scene of confrontation, and paradoxically, with each camp contending they are pushing the same agenda. It is preposterous indeed that an initiative conceived to unite the country, hence the title Building Bridges Initiative, is widening the gap. Whatever the case, the difference of opinion should not translate into hatred that is clearly developed within the political class. At any rate, both proponents and critics of the same have endorsed the proposal contained in the BBI report, which among other things seek to expand the executive to create new positions such as the one for Prime Minister, as well as have a flexible structure that facilitates inclusivity given the momentum that the BBI is gathering. Pushing for constitutional amendment is inevitable, which is the point that we need to canvass tonight. While acknowledging some of the bold proposals, BBI does not provide the panacea to the country's socio-economic and political contestations. There are fundamental political, administrative, and economic issues that require constitutional settlement. Hence, they should be brought out and discussed openly. We should guard against a situation where the document is voted and adopted as it is. That will create a mirage. Since politicians have taken charge and help bend to push through the proposals, the public should demand and engage in a candid debate on the same. Those proposals, we must avoid the herd mentality where everyone is railroaded to accept a document without proper interrogation and alternative voices. Equally important, we must not allow the unfolding political camps to cloud our minds and mask our focus on what matters, which is to create a fair and just society through the law. So tonight, we borrow our quote of the day from Roy Bennett, an accomplished author in his own rights. He penned, "It's only after you have stepped outside your comfort zone that you begin to change, grow, and transform." My guests tonight, Moses Kuria, Tula Kilonzo Jr., and John Mbadi. At Ken Mijungu on Twitter, Instagram, and Facebook. Welcome to our program tonight. Join the conversation online. As always, use the hashtag Sidebar, and Sidebar begins right now.
Even before the Honorable Raila reached out to Uhuru Kenyatta, he reached out to me.
Juzi nimesikia mtu mwingine anasema ati mimi nilitafuta yeye. Natafuta wewe kama nani wewe?
You see a day when he might possibly become the president of this country?
Why not?
Would you work with him?
That's another question.
I have heard many stories.
Saying that Raila Odinga is so rich, very, very rich, which is not true.
Okay? How rich are you?
I think about 2 billion shillings.
Tukiuliza pesa, anatuambia BBI. Raila, listen to me. We don't want BBI. We want pesa.
No one can stop reggae.
Nobody can stop reggae. And indeed, tonight we find out if reggae is truly unstoppable or stoppable. Gentlemen, welcome to the program tonight. Let's begin with the discussion from the latest point of concern. Members of Parliament allied to the President and the opposition leader today met and they had a press conference. One of the members saying that there was a plot yesterday to impeach, or rather they intend to impeach the President. We saw the numbers, and there is this school of thought that the numbers were scary. So let me begin with Moses now that you are in Deputy President's camp. Where does this come from? Was it one of the agendas that was discussed yesterday about impeaching the President? That's why you're looking for numbers.
First of all, I really take exception to that distinction between who is pro-president. We are all pro-president. I think you've been fed with that garbage that some people are pro-president, others are not pro-president. Second, as we said in Naivasha, and the Deputy President was not there. We were members of Parliament, mostly Jubilee, but like-minded. Members from ODM, members from, Ford Kenya and all other parties. But on this issue of impeachment, I saw that on news today and I thought, was I coming for Churchill Live or Sidebar? Because it's really a joke. But it's supposed to be a scarecrow that people cannot sit and discuss about something which we were invited to discuss because of the so-called impeachment claims by people like Gladys Wanga, who said, I don't know, Raisa Najikuna wapi. It's obnoxious. And it's really uncalled for, really. It's uncalled for.
Who's the joke on, Mheshimiwa?
The joke that when people meet to discuss something which we have been told, now BBI is here, now you are seized of the moment, now discuss. When we meet, if we don't participate in the BBI process, we are doomed. If we participate, we are doomed again. So damned if we do, damned if we don't. What logically
you said it's
are
a
we
joke.
supposed to do?
You said it's a joke. Who's the joke on? The people who said it? The people who
I think it's a joke is on the people who said it.
Okay, the people who said
where did the issue of impeachment come from? Tell me. I'm trying to think logically.
In other words, these members of Parliament in their numbers could gather, call a press conference to joke about an issue such as impeaching the President.
Imagine. That's why I'm at a loss. Of all the things they would discuss, including the locust invasion.
Why did they discuss impeaching the President? John Badi was there. You were there at that press conference.
First of all, let me make it clear that our statement was not on the impeachment of the President.
Yes.
Touched on a number of issues. And more importantly, the genuineness and the honesty with which, let me call it, the Tanga team are coming or joining this BBI discussion. But the issue of impeachment also came up because you see where you gather a large number of members of Parliament and you discuss and something comes up, don't ever imagine that person will, that issue will not get out to even at the unintended years. And so we were made we were informed that some of them were suggesting a way of, let me call it blackmailing the President.
Some, you mean the people who are in Naivasha?
Those who were in the meeting in Naivasha.
And
by the way, it was not a scary number, so to speak. I will tell you these people.
That number of members of Parliament.
The number was not even at 140 that was
said there were 170 something.
But even if there were 170, I will tell you that is not a number that can impeach President.
Okay.
Because if it's even National Assembly and the Senate. And I will tell you for a fact, and you can confirm it even when we get back to Parliament, the Tanga team does not have a majority now in National Assembly. I'm sure we can beat them in any motion, any bill. There was a time we were scared of them, not anymore.
We?
And so, yes.
I'm concerned about the we, because he's talking about
I'm talking about we, because I lead a team in Parliament.
The minority team.
The
minority
but
team,
right now,
the minority,
we are not scared of the
Tanga minority
team. Yes, everybody knows.
So you are a majority then?
Just listen to me carefully.
Yes.
You see, we all know the political environment that's obtaining at the moment in this country. And I will tell you, if they make a mistake of bringing any far-reaching proposal of that nature, it would fall flat.
Okay.
In the National Assembly, it will not even reach the Senate.
Okay.
So that does not scare us, although it's a matter that has to be talked about. So Moses Kuria, of course, you don't expect him to come to this show and confess admit what they discussed. But they discussed a number of issues. And I would not be surprised if he denies that that is one of the things that
was discussed. Okay.
Yeah. But when we addressed this matter, Ken, what we were You can't impeach Raila over what? But
you,
even if he was impeachable, you would not manage it, especially in the
why are you
current
not saying that
political
Raila?
okay,
Why would you
okay,
the president?
okay. I remember what he's saying essentially happened during the debt ceiling debate when the president got numbers without necessarily using the Tanga side to pass the
there are many other
instances that you can give. But let me speak to Senator here. Do you want to join this debate of impeaching the president, not impeaching the president, and what happened in Naivasha?
I think John Bird is right that personally think the statement is overdone, even if the intention is there. In terms of numbers, it cannot be achieved. It won't be.
But how do you rubbish it quite early in terms of numbers?
It's not rubbishing. You know, you rubbish something that is you need to rubbish it. It's just.
So this is.
It's just absolutely fertile imagination.
Okay.
In terms of the impeachment, I actually think, without necessarily even getting into too much detail, that I don't think there's anybody who wants to file that motion.
Okay.
One person.
There'll be someone who is daring enough to file it.
To file that motion, I don't think it's going to happen. But it should bother you and bother the people who are broadcasting this, that we are pushing too many agendas that might lead us to instability of the country. And therefore, I think we should exercise some little caution. And the caution would be that the tuko pamoja is now tulikuwa pamoja, and all this thing is going to cause us problems as a country, and it's something that we ought to consider. Now, if the agenda was BBI, and we are talking about a report, and I've heard what you have said about this report is not about to be voted on the way it is. Even the statement you have made there is not correct. This is just a document for public discourse. The document that needs to be voted on has not come.
But Mheshimiwa, what is this document that is supposed to be voted on? What is this document? Explain to Kenyans. What is this document?
Oh, yes, I need to explain to you.
Yes, what is this document?
This is a report.
Yes.
The report has got proposals. The proposals that need legislative amendment, for example, the proposal on the Prime Minister, the proposal to increase the allocation of counties, the proposal about leader of opposition, the proposal on reform of IBC, are constitutional amendments that must be in a bill. Now, the bill, if you go by popular initiative, must go to the county assemblies and supported by 50%, which is 24 counties. If it's through parliament, it's the same. The process has not commenced. And I believe the idea of having the task force gazetted again was to reduce this document, the whole of it, into a bill. So that then we can identify an issue which you, Wanjiku, Mwikali can vote on.
Okay.
Yes.
My question was this. Wanjiku doesn't have this document.
Which one?
They don't have this. Every single place we ask them if they have seen the BBI report. They haven't seen it. What are these politicians selling on the platforms?
I think that, personally think that there's some little fault that we must give to the task force, because in the previous constitutional dispensation, the draft report was circulated in advance, and when it is circulated in advance, they gave a timeline. They did the A to Z of the constitutional making. I personally thought that this report would come with an annexure, which would be a draft bill, which we would be discussing. That is what I would think. Okay. And there's another reason for it. The other reason is what Moses Kuria and other people are doing. Eventually, when Amos Wako, Yusuf Haji go to these various counties where this politics is high octane, the conversation will be doctored. The conversation will be skewed.
That's what they're afraid of is happening on the political podium.
Instead of making proposals about a document, people will be looking at political leanings. Okay. And I therefore think that to avoid this sort of politics, now that the document doesn't have that attachment, I personally have proposed that since we are very good people, Amos Wako, what is the name of the vice chair? Adam Solo, very good lawyers, yes. By February, we should have a document that can go for public discourse so that we move this process a little faster before we poison the whole country with the politics. Yes.
Moses, I'll come back to you. One of the concerns that, and just allow me to say the people on the other side who have now joined, because you don't want that term used. One of the things they said is they are afraid that when ODM go to the platform with this document, they are misleading Kenyans and they are not telling Kenyans about the real thing, the contents of this document. So that's one of the things that you needed to correct as the people allied to Deputy President, and that's the reason why they sought to join the BBI forums.
You know, I really like what Mutula has said, and I think ugali comes from maize flour, because Mutula Kilonzo Jr. has talked every bit like my good friend, the late Mutula Kilonzo Sr. Because we were here exactly 10 years ago, yeah, and his father was a Minister for Justice. And at that particular time, we were not in a monolithic political thinking. We had Kibaki with his PNU, and we had Raila Odinga with his ODM. Two actually competing forces. And you remember, only 2 years after that, we were heading for the 2012 general elections. Despite that, we had a very clear, calibrated process, which was clearly bipartisan. And that is what is missing now. Because the Haji Committee is guilty as charged. And maybe not the Haji Committee. It is the principals who created the committee. They meet so many things on the way. Because, for example, as Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr. said, this report ought to have come with two things. One, an implementation matrix. This is how we propose to implement. Delineating policy issues, even cultural issues, behavioral changes, legal changes in parliament, constitutional changes in parliament, referendum issues. That needs to have been, it was not too much to ask. And the second thing, of course, is a draft bill that was to come by. So what we are dealing with is a clear breakdown of the process, because in the absence of that, it becomes everybody's job. So I can't even really fault the ODM brigade for jumping in, because they are filling in a gap that was there. That there was no clear person who said, now here is the report. People have not even seen the report. I'm being asked to ask my socios in the village to go to Google and look for the report. So there is no report, there is no implementation matrix, there is no draft bill, there is no guidance. And by the way, even worse, and John Buddy and I are in the budget committee, there is not even a budget for this process. And there is no budget in this confusing situation whereby we are not even speaking in the same language. So I would really ask humbly, if it is possible, that we actually take a chill pill and actually, amend or mend all those things that have gone wrong. Have a joint secretariat of all the forces like we did. I remember in 2010, I was co-heading the communication secretariat with Salim Lone. And we were from different parties, but that did not stop us from working together. Kibaki and Raila worked together perfectly well. They had their team leaders, Uhuru Kenyatta from PNU side, James Olengo from ODM side. So right now what we are having is a rule of the jungle, is a very big failure on the side of the president and the right honorable.
Moish, before I go to John Buddy, just briefly, tell me, from the way you're speaking, it talks to me, and I feel like you're saying this process was engineered to be this way so that it could be returned to the people.
There's nothing wrong with telling it to the people. I
no,
don't think
engineered intentionally.
But
it was engineered
even in
like
chaos, there is some formula even to madness.
Do you think it
and
was
this
engineered?
Madness has not even a formula.
Do you believe it was engineered so that it could go back to the people?
I cannot say that was a motivation, because both Uhuru Kenyatta and Raila Odinga were there 10 years ago, and they could see that even as we went to the people, there was a formula to it, there was a structure to it.
Okay.
So either advertently or inadvertently, but what you are dealing with is a season of madness.
Okay. Mheshimiwa.
I'm not surprised with the way Moses is reasoning, because this is the same argument that Moses had and his team had before the BBI team even set to do their work. We need to understand how BBI team came about. This was as a result of two leaders who met, agreed that this country is about to collapse, it's about to burn. We need to greet each other and listen to each other, find out what is causing the division in this country, get a team to look into these issues. And the 9 issues were identified. Now, what is this team? This team was a task force. A task force cannot come up with what Moses is saying, implementation matrix. Implementing
the same
what?
thing Junior is saying.
Implementing what?
The same thing Junior is saying.
Just listen,
yes.
Ken. This task force, the best it could do was to produce a report for this country. And that is what it did. And in that report, if you read it, you'll find they provided that this is the beginning of a national discussion on these issues. And therefore, there was supposed to be a validation period. What now we are going through is a validation period of this report. After that, and now that task force has been converted to a steering committee. It is a steering committee that can now come up with an implementation program.
Okay.
With what Moses was talking about, the implementation matrix or the plans, etc. Otherwise, no task force anywhere in the world, tell me which one, has ever come out with an implementation program.
Okay.
Implementing what? They are supposed to go listen to Kenyans, produce a report, give it back to Kenyans for validation, after which now we get to the implementation stage.
Okay.
So we are jumping the gun. I think Moses Kuria, because of his hatred, he doesn't like this team.
But you know, you're forgetting
even
like Senator said what Moses said.
No, but I get.
In business school, first of all.
No, I can't be your junior.
I have to take a
issues. Forget about me and hatred.
No, but the
I
point
need to take a quick break, but I'm coming back with this discussion because I need to understand something you're accusing Moses of saying. It's the same thing I had Senator say about implementation and all the annexures.
What I had the senator say
it's the same thing he said
about documents.
Yes,
I agree with him that probably we need now to give out to Kenyans the report to read.
No. Yes.
Of course, I know they will read the bill and etc. But the report they need to read. But again, let us also not assume that Kenyans are not IT savvy.
Okay.
Many people look at see this report, and by the way, don't expect all Kenyans to read this report. How?
Okay, let's
Yes,
take a break.
some Kenyans
Let's take a
will
break
read it.
on that note. We are back with Sidebar. And when we come back, I'd like to understand the difference in your thoughts, especially the two of them. To me, they sort of agree. There is much more that should have come with this document. It's only you who's taking the different tangents. But let me come back after this break. We discuss that.
Heaviness and a burning inside, it could be heartburn.
Indigestion and heartburn? Eno gets to work in 6 seconds and works on the 6 symptoms of heartburn so you can keep living life non-stop. Eno, fight heartburn and indigestion fast.
Every day, NTV News Team moves you to the center of the action.
The security forces who took that in this operation, the police are not taking anything to chance it.
Moves you to the heart of the story to witness and record history.
Rendering the declared results null and void.
Telling the story of Kenya.
The growing importance of border in Mandera.
Matatus will be on strike.
And beyond.
The politics in the United States capital. It is the 7th edition of the Global Education taking place in Dubai.
When it comes to business, we crunch the numbers and unpack the detail with the latest information for your investment decision.
It's time to say goodbye to this note and karibu to this note.
In order for the manufacturing sector to be elevated from the ground.
Despite the government's promise to create at least 1.3 million jobs,
moves you fast past the planes and trucks to bring you the triumphs and joys of our great men and women.
Moving stories that touch our hearts.
I didn't know that I could go back to school.
The Back to School program has brought hope to these young mothers.
NTV News. News that moves you.
Sasa nikiapproach mtu si ataanza makesi.
So unataka tufanye aje? And clearly we are running out of time, Camila.
Can you impress them once and this can I know what's happening in that photos?
Nani alipiga hiyo picha? Na zote ni kazi ya Nyambegea.
I, Crotus Theophilus Abong the Third, do take you Camila Wanjera Chege Minji.
Umemudu bado kwa tajua kari sekta.
As long as mimi na Crotus tuko happy, it's okay.
Huyu mama anaenda kwa soko huko anachukua wig, anaosha ndiye anavaa kwa kichwa. What do you mean?
Who are you, Carrie? Why do we look the same? Do I have a twin sister?
I got
I'm 26 years old. You wouldn't know because you've been gone for so long.
You are a worthless mother!
Oh my goodness! I'm really sorry. Who are you?
Why are there 3 of us here?
I think now is the time to tell her the truth.
Wait, what is she saying?
I will look for my other sisters. From the picture, one of them looks rich.
She's my twin sister, so I think that I deserve a part of their family's fortune.
And we are back with Sidebar. Senator Mutula Kilonzo Jr., Minority Leader, the National Assembly John Mbadi, and Moses Kuria, member for Gatundu South, sorry, and you are a presidential candidate. I'd want to ask you that, but let's move to issues now.
Maybe he's not president.
Is he still president?
Are you still running for president?
Maybe he's not president of the BBI. Maybe he's a council of elders.
So, is that why you changed?
No, just relax, we finish BBI.
BBI has not proposed to scrap presidency.
Oh, you want to propose that?
No.
All you want is an executive premiership.
No.
Executive
That's what they want. Parliamentary system and executive prime minister, which me and the region I come from, we will never support.
But you see, Moses, probably you're looking at this thing through the eyes of someone who probably could occupy that seat. You're not looking at it in terms of the whole country, Kenya, national politics.
Forget about today. Our position, I'm talking about as a region first of all, has been very consistent over the ages. We are for presidential system. It has served us. It has got its flaws, but it has served us. So this thing of being taken kando, and to bring executive prime minister and parliamentary system, never.
At least it's not in the proposal, and unless in the report, unless it
that's
will
what
be
they
sneaked
want
in
all
through these forums.
He's speaking his own thing.
All this thing of going back to the people, hakuna kitu ingine. Niyo tu.
No, but
they want a prime minister who does not look for votes from the people and goes to parliament and is voted for by MPs. Meanwhile, a president goes around all over the country, looks for votes. Really true? That's what they want.
But that's not what
he's saying. Even all this venom. Otherwise, why would people start catching feelings because people go to university? Because this is a hidden thing.
Okay.
Moses is talking like the reason why we are getting back to the people, going back to the people, is because we want...
he actually thinks it's a sham, going back to the people.
That's why I'm saying, Moses, take your time and read this report. Our going back to the people is in this report.
Yes.
So are you saying that the task force was in some conspiracy theory with those of us you have in your mind who want executive prime minister? For your information, as a party, we are in support. We are in support of a mixed system.
Okay, as a party,
we really don't have. We are not so keen in what you call executive.
Okay.
By the way,
okay, gentlemen,
by the way, what is the discussion?
Are you supporting this report as it is?
But we have said we support it. It's you who has a problem with it. The ones who are creating 2 BBIs. The BBI 2 is a creation of Tangatanga and their lord.
Okay, let me get to this, gentlemen.
There is no other.
There is no any other BBI. There is only one
executive prime minister with the parliamentary system, which we will never agree.
All right, gentlemen. Let me come.
Let
me come to the senator, Moses. Let me come to the senator. The member for Suba South is a little bit. To me, he wants to understand where you're coming from with the proposal. Why did you think that they should have those other annexures? To what end? Because it's a report, an interim report, and you've shown us the page about taking it back to the people, and it was envisioned that they will get this task force to work on it again.
If you're seated where I'm seated and looking up from the inside, the only reason you would do that is to avoid what Moses Kuria is saying.
Okay.
Moses Kuria is saying that there is a hidden report, there is a hidden card. If you read the report the way it is structured on page 105, what Moses Kuria is talking about is not here. And therefore, the only way to remove that doubt is the actual document, because the actual document would have those clauses that would speak to the position taken by the BBI team and the position taken by the political parties on the issue. And therefore, what we will be debating is the clause The clause as structured would be the debate as to whether that person seeks mandate or that person is proposed by the president, approved by parliament as proposed in page 105 of the report. That is the confusion I'm talking about. The confusion is caused by the fact that the rumor has it, and you know, a lie takes a short time to go around.
Yes.
And I had this actually from Kipchumba Murkomen when we were burying the father of Senator Kabaka, that there is a document, there is something. Somebody left another report somewhere. Why? Because the clause as written is very, very straightforward, the way it is.
Okay.
But the political protagonists are thinking, this can be it. There must be something else that you're not telling us.
Why are they so keen to...
Can I explain to you why they are talking like that?
Yeah.
Yes.
It is because the moment BBI started its work, this task force, these guys assumed that a position will be created to Prime Minister and it belongs to Raila Odinga.
Exactly.
These guys never imagined that Raila can go for any other thing apart from Prime Minister. I don't know for what reason. Raila Odinga was Prime Minister from 2008 to 2013. And I don't think he is thinking of becoming a Prime Minister again. So when you hear Moses Kuria talks that ODM wants, they are still in that mindset. They are still having that conservative mindset, so to speak, that ODM is only interested in the position of Prime Minister. I will tell them probably we are not. What we are interested in is a government structure that will be inclusive, that Kenyans will appreciate and identify with. What they call executive Prime Minister, I don't know what that means. But what I think many Kenyans are saying, especially after the release of this report, is that, yes, let's have a Prime Minister, but let's not have a so weak Prime Minister who is going to be appointed by the president. And this is Kenyans speaking. It's not even a party position. There are so many people who have spoken who are not even members of ODM. But if finally it will be agreed that that Prime Minister will be someone who is picked among members of parliament or National Assembly, so to speak, by the president, so be it. We have no issues with it, so long as Kenyans have validated.
Can I explain something?
Yes.
You see, in the proposal, like for example, dismissal of the Prime Minister under page 106, it reads the Prime Minister may be dismissed by the President or through a vote of no confidence in the National Assembly that wins an absolute majority. Now, in the case of whether it's an executive Prime Minister or non-executive Prime Minister, as a question, it would mean you would have the post of Prime Minister as executive as one question, and the post of non-executive as another question, so that Kenyans can make a determination.
What they want.
What they want.
Senator, I hope you understand what you're talking about is the tail end.
What do you mean?
To make that, Kenyans will make a decision whether it's that's tail end.
That is what I'm saying.
Yes, that's tail end. Let's talk about
the
current.
report,
yes.
as Mbadi is saying, Kenyans have identified a weakness in the system, and they have said, let's have a Prime Minister. As to what form of a Prime Minister we'll have, and the powers that Prime Minister would have, as to whether you'll be dismissed or not, is still a proposal.
Okay.
It has not been drafted to a clause where we can either remove a comma, or add a power, or add dismissal, or put another clause.
But do you believe they have a point that there could be hidden cards from where you sit?
I don't believe.
You don't believe there are any hidden cards?
Let me tell you why.
Yes, I'm coming to you, Moses.
Let me tell you why I think so. I think that if the chairperson, particularly, and I can vouch for Yusuf Haji, if he was a sort of chairman who would be pushed like the way that the man is suggested, this report would have been much different. This report would have been so drastic that you would be having things flying all over the place. But you can see that there's an element of moderation in the terms of how the proposals have been crafted for purposes of providing an avenue for Moses Kuria here, and this is a very intelligent man, to look at this and say, why don't you remove 2 and put 3? Why don't you remove 4 and put a 6?
Okay. Moses, tell me, do you think Kenyans even have an opinion on this document?
Not as yet. They have not even seen it.
Not as yet.
It is a privileged document right now.
You believe there's a
privileged document for the elite like me and Badi and Mutula Kilonzo Jr. My people in the village do not have an idea whether this is Githeri or Mudokoi. They don't have an idea what this document is. And that is a reality. But before I get there, I want to say that John Badi is saying that there is no hidden agenda or we. But it's common sense that, John Badi is no longer in power in ODM. Junet Mohammed and that clique there of Gladys Wanga. So I really have confidence in John Badi. I really want to wish that he gets back to the mainstream of ODM so that this wonderful,
Have you thrown it out?
No. I'm just stating there as a preliminary, some things that need to be brought into perspective. He is the chairman of the party, but he's reigning, but he's not ruling. But that's a different issue altogether. You've seen Junet Mohammed increasingly take the position of John Badi in all these discourse.
What, by being an MC? Come on.
No, just by being an MC, but we know what's happening there. So John Badi means well, and he means it when he says there's no other document. Unfortunately, it's not private to some of those things. He need to have some coffee session with Junet Mohammed. Now, moving now swiftly, this issue of Prime Minister weak or strong or this or that is neither here nor there. I think for me it's a question of principles. That the person, first of all, who is the chief executive of this country needs to be someone who enjoys universal suffrage. Yeah?
Which is here.
Which is there.
Is here.
Which is, that's why I'm very much okay with your page 105.
Yes.
Second thing is that we cannot go back as a principle to that issue simply because of inclusivity of antagonistic centers of power. It is not feasible, and we've seen other countries in Africa get into turmoil simply because they have got this king.
But Moses, I think that happened because it was not well founded in the law. When the last time we had two centers of power.
This is a very careful document.
Yes,
it's a very careful document because first of all, do you know why I really support this document? First of all, why did we create a position of Prime Minister in that document? In my own estimation, it is not because of just dispersing power. It's also in terms of having efficient government. Somebody to assist to have an efficient government. Today, we have got a president who lives in State House. Yeah? A head of public service who largely lives in State House. So when it comes to the day-to-day mechanics of running a government, and government includes relation with parliament, it's missing. So why I was happy with this draft is because the Prime Minister, as envisaged in page 105 of this document, is someone who actually he links the missing links, both from legislature and from executive, and thereby achieving an efficient government. It's not just a question of disbursing power or donating power or giving some people some high feeling of I am ruling. No. But as long as we have got chief executive of this country elected through universal suffrage by everybody and not creating two centers of power and also achieving efficient government, I am for this document.
All right. Minority Leader, how comes the talk about the centers of power and the creation of powerful or weak Prime Minister, whatever it is dominating this discourse more than electoral justice, such things? Why is it that we have to debate more about power more than things that matter to the people?
You see, that is normal and natural. Let me tell you, any society is political by nature. It's not just Kenya. You'll find that a lot of discussion everywhere in the world. There are three pillars to any society. There is a political pillar, there is economic pillar, and there is social pillar. But usually political pillar is discussed much more, and a political pillar gives direction to these other pillars, both economic and social. So you would expect people to engage more on issues of leadership, governance structure, etc. So it is not uncommon. But I think also we need to devote sufficient time to discuss. When I spoke in Kisii, I largely dwelt on economic issues because that is my area of competence. And sometimes I find it a bit interesting that Kenyans just judge these meetings with the rallies. We precede the rallies with meetings, which are very constructive and where we discuss a lot of issues. But can allow me to respond to my friend here, Moses Kuria, talking about power play in ODM. First of all, Moses Kuria should know that ODM is a very organized party, and it's like a football team. And we know who plays where. When things are smooth, you don't expect people like Mbadi to always jump around and about. And we have to allow other people who are coming, who are growing. I am serving my third term in Parliament. I'm mature enough, and now I also need to create space for other people also to exercise their leadership ability. That does not mean that I'm being sidelined or anything. No one can sideline, but you know who I am. And really, my value in the party, I don't think is in doubt or in question. Okay. And when time comes, like when Moses Kuria and the like starts misbehaving like they're misbehaving now, you can see Mbadi is back and very strong to make sure that we protect the goal. So that these people don't score with their hands. Okay. So I am very much, if you are in doubt,
matters of the party, yes.
You must know that we are very much
and
strong.
Yeah. I believe in you more than Junaid. So
no, you have your issues with Junaid, but Junaid is also a very strong leader.
Absolutely.
No, it's my friend. I'm just saying, I like you more than because
you may like me more than him. That one is for you. Yeah. But I would persuade you to understand that he's also a very strong.
Yeah, but we also don't want to discuss Junaid so much because he's not here to defend.
But I can defend him.
Yeah, and I can also defend him. Yes. Because we don't want to gossip him. Anyway. Yes. It is. Because not here. Let me tell you, even when you guys are discussing this issue, and Bud is right, the question of the appointment or executive is under the topic divisive elections. They have identified that the problem about the country is the system, whether parliamentary or presidential, what Moses Kuria keeps talking about. And therefore, one of the things that they've found as a solution is having the post of prime minister. We have many. I sat with this gentleman. I don't know whether you were with us in Windsor. You are not.
No, I wasn't.
And did electoral reform, which is part and parcel of what is being discussed here.
Yes.
Even I propose that, in fact, the problem about Kenya is not divisive elections. The problem about Kenya is actually manipulative elections. Because the elections don't divide us. It's the manipulation of the results that has caused problems in this country. And therefore, in the discussion of these matters, the Prime Minister is one. You're right, we have not gone into the details of how we are going to reform IEBC, how we can have an election conducted, presidential election conducted this manner. It is conducted in Brazil. It ends at 5, at 7 o'clock.
We have the results.
And there are 103 million biometrically registered voters. We can have it in 2 hours.
That's what the president was saying today.
It's simple.
Ken, let's stop there. Because I asked a question maybe before even the show started to this gentleman. Where in this document does it say how we are going to vote, as the president says, and I agree with him, that we're going to finish voting and then everybody goes to have ugali or chapati with mama back at home. Is it by having more positions? Is it by having transparent, clear electoral processes? Or is it by changing our operating system so that when people are defeated, they accept results?
No.
Which is which?
No, you're just being clever by half. And loading us with parables here like Jesus. The point is, the president is right. And that's why I said the word divisive elections is derived from manipulated results. The minute we deal with the manipulation of results, as the president says, we will not have all these problems.
And I'm with you there.
In fact,
but this is about confidence. It's not about it's about confidence of the people.
Absolutely, because you know in the US,
how do you get confidence?
The electoral officers,
when people believe that you're going to get the results on time, and then with the good results.
I sat with Moses Kuria in Windsor for over 3 weeks. And we came up with the electronic management system that has got a server, that has got a way of transmitting results, has got a way of transmitting a form and not results. And what did Chiloba do? Chiloba was just sending numbers. That's what I'm talking about. People, it's not about confidence. It's about getting men and women of integrity who understand the law. And if they violate the law, we take action. Chiloba is doing farming somewhere in Trans Nzoia. And he manipulated an election.
By the way,
no, you keep quiet. You ask the question.
Could we take a break?
No, I wanted to answer.
Okay, answer. Then we take the last
quickly.
break.
Apart from what Mutula has said about the divisive election that is covered in this, this report, and which goes into even discussing the fact that the culture of winner takes it all is what is causing the problems that we see in this country, that we need to address that. But beyond that, the whole report is actually talking to this idea after election we should not fight. Because if you respect the national ethos of a country, you will behave differently. If you look,
you'll accept defeat.
Listen, you know you are
gentlemen.
You have one. Let me not.
One track.
You are one track. But anyway, you are someone I respect, so let me leave that. The issue of ethnic antagonism and competition is addressed. If we can read this report, get this report into some document that can be for posterity in this country, and avoid these sideshows of holding unnecessary meetings in Naivasha, coming up with
Mombasa,
totally
and Kisii,
no.
unnecessary.
But you came to Mombasa. I was not in Mombasa. You came to Mombasa.
Well,
so you are the ones. Then are you saying that you went?
I came to laugh at you guys. Just
come on. These are the people.
And I'm not coming to Kitui to laugh at you more. To see you guys engage in an exercise that is not structured.
I'm happy you were never given an opportunity to speak. I'll make sure you don't speak.
I don't need to speak.
Gentlemen, can I say something?
Yes.
Yes,
I need to
wait, Sikiza. This document reads, building bridges to a united Kenya, full colon, and in red, from a nation of blood ties to a nation of ideals.
Okay.
It's about elections, manipulation, cheating, winning at all costs. That is what
I wish even the
but you don't want to discuss it.
No,
but that's what we're saying.
No.
Gentlemen,
I wish
when we talk of national ethos, the only thing you see
is about how to reform our electoral
process. No, but listen.
Okay.
I wish that's
part of it. Gentlemen, a short break. We're back with Sidebar.
The Lake Victoria is very important. It's a resource to the region.
77 ilikuwa samaki nyingi kabisa kwa maana maji ilikuwa safi, na siku hizi hakuna samaki because of dirty water.
Hatukunywi maji, ni kama hii maji imegia wanyama.
What we release back to the lake meets the regulatory standards.
Hii maji ilikuwa maji safi, na sasa hii huwezi fanya nayo kazi kwa maana ni mafi kila wakati.
Gari ndio hii eh? Haya, kujeni tuangalie.
From 4 to 8 p.m. on the Nation Drive. More music.
Haya, ngeni muangalie.
You people have been found guilty of listening to Nation FM. I'm told now Binda. On that note, everybody in this matatu is being paid for fare today.
Tunakemea January.
Just move to more music and less talk. Nation FM will be rewarding all Mathris tuned in to Nation FM. Watch out for the team as we visit various parts of the county. Nominate a SACCO that tunes in using the hashtag JustMove. Tag us and we will pay your fare. Kemea in January, only on Nation FM.
Sio baada ya kila miaka mitano kila Mkenya ati yako na hofu, nitaamuka namna gani, itakuwa nini? Hapana, tunataka Mkenya apige kura, aende nyumbani, akule ugali na chapati na mama, agojee matokeo, siku hiyo ingine amerudi kazi na hakuna kitu, hakuna mwagikaji wa damu. Na hiyo safari hakuna mtu atanizuia jameni. Hiyo nimesema. Hiyo safari nitatimiza.
Right, very interesting, but that's where everybody wishes that we will be in the next election that you can believe in. But gentlemen, if we go back to the discussion we had, we'll not finish this show.
No, but you see, Moses is the one who is telling us that people should accept defeat, results of election. And he's the same member of parliament who, in the middle of a presidential election, participated in amending the electoral laws and the rules and changing the rule of the game. So Moses Kuria is actually hypocritical.
There on the issue of security, because me, I believe two things. One, there is no system that has no manual process.
Are we going to discuss the electoral process?
You and I did this in
gentlemen, are we going to discuss
there is no system that has no backup. But anyway, sasa mko kwa serikali pengine atatuliiba. Wacha tuatie hapo. Sasa mko kwa serikali tuambie kama tuliiba sawa tu. Tuendelee tu.
Wafungue
saba yote.
Consensus. All right, gentlemen, let's come back to the discussion. And I'd like to begin with you, Senator. I mentioned earlier that there's more discussion about the position of whether it's executive, more powers to the Prime Minister or not. Yeah. But I'm more interested in the proposal that we've also had on these platforms. One driven by the fact that we will need 24 counties to approve this if it goes into a bill. So the governors, is this a stick and a carrot situation for the governors? Because the governors are also making demands right now. They want post their second term, something to do. How does that sit with you as a senator and a lawyer sitting looking at it from where you sit?
What, the third tier? Or
yes, the third tier. Yes.
Third tier.
Yes, to benefit the governors. Yes.
Now, the proposal of the third tier was there during the time when the BBI task force was going around. But in this document, they have said that they disagree with the process of having a third tier government, and for whatever reasons. So I heard about the third tier structure when I was in Mombasa, and when it was presented by the Coast Group through Governor Kingi. I have not seen in this document or in my several years in Senate a lacuna in law that would allow a third tier government. Now, the principle of devolution was to decongest, deconstruct, devolve power as opposed to centralize. The national government enjoys such a system where you have regional commanders, regional police officers, etc., etc. So I'm not quite sure whether the idea of mirroring the devolution structure to the national government is an attempt by the governors to seek for a job, because
they've made it so clear, Senator.
Because it doesn't mean that by the system being created, the second governors will be either selected or elected into those positions. It doesn't mean, but looking at what we have been doing in the past, and John Badi and this gentleman Moses Kuria we have been fighting endlessly about funding counties. Can we afford these sort of things, where you create another layer of government, as opposed to creating more village administrators and ward administrators? We are creating another tier system. As far as I'm concerned, that proposal is misplaced. There was a reason why this good team did not find merit in it, and I think in future we should not find merit in such a structure, because it's just going to create a necessary workload and a necessary load on Kenyans. Okay. Remember, this gentleman is famous for Punguza Mzigo, initially, even before the draft came.
Before he went to third way.
Yes.
Yes.
Now,
Punda Mechoka.
Yes, Punda Mechoka. Yes. Now, after this, and you remember that there was this big clamor about reducing counties and reducing constituencies. This task force has gone round. Listen to Kenyans. They've come back with a verdict. Keep our 290 constituencies intact. Even the ones,
our counties also intact.
Even the protected ones, including one in Makueni called Kilome constituency. They said, please keep it intact. Okay. They have gone round also and said, please keep our 47 counties intact, including Lamu, which I mean, he has argued severally, it's a small county. Yes. So why then would we go round that when Kenyans have already given their views? That's what I'm saying. Some of the things that we are doing are absolutely outside this framework and dangerous for this. And that is why it would have been good for us to have been having a document which actualizes the views of Kenyans, as opposed to going around and giving an opportunity for people to do through passes. Yes.
Okay. Minority Leader, do you see a quid pro quo in this with the governors?
No, let me put it this way. Yes. I think there are two issues here. There are two problems here. Number one is the way the governor started the discussion around the third tier.
Yes.
They are the ones who have thrown us off balance.
I think the first person I heard who said was Governor Rasanga.
In fact, the way he put it was so, to me, I want to be polite about with him, but I didn't like it.
He asked it so plainly.
I was asking, at where do you take me? Yes, it's not our business to know where Rasanga is going. By the way, looking at his age, I think he can retire.
I tell you.
Let us also accept as leaders that we can retire. But now the governors, those who are serving their last term, have, let me call it, scandalized.
How many are they? 23? 23, yes.
But Ken, the regional government would have been a very good idea, except that I think we have gone too far. Because the 47 counties from the word go was a mistake, in my view. These counties are too tiny for proper governance structure. And that is why running the counties is very expensive. But once you have given a right, it is very difficult to take it away. You see, the couriers in Migori are even calling for another county.
Yes, they want to
and many other places.
Even
the Beres, if you go to Meru, I think is it Tharaka?
Tharaka already has.
No, there are Beres in Embu. Isn't it? They are also calling for probably another county, etc. So you cannot take away the 47 counties as created. Probably only Nairobi you can compromise and get it back to the national government as it's being proposed. But the other 46 is hard to achieve that. So where we are, but if you ask me, if we could have had a system where, in terms of government, we have it at the regional level and only use counties and even lower units as units of devolution for service delivery, it would have been much better than having these tiny counties. Look at the problems we are facing. Homa Bay is doing its own legislation, Migori legislation, Kisumu, Siaya. They come up with different legislations which don't even make economic sense at all if they are, touching on certain issues of economy or taxation. Look at even the way of, if you have to do a road, for example, a tarmac road, how do you do a tarmac road in a county as they are currently constituted? It will terminate from one point to another. It looks like so tiny. You
Homa Bay, you go to Rongo, from
so
Rongo you had to go to Migori.
Say Siaya, Kisumu, Homa Bay, Migori, and even the greater Kisii as one county, for example. You could even do one major road from Siaya all the way, the ring road, and have the resources and do it, and it makes economic sense. So it would have been a valid and a genuine argument. However, the way it has been brought has compromised.
The same people on the
because
table,
now it is
the same politicians are the ones who agreed on this. Same politicians.
And by the way, the third tier was in the Boma's draft, but it was killed in Naivasha. I remember we tried to reintroduce it at KIA. When now as members of parliament we were discussing the product from Naivasha. It failed. In fact, I remember someone like CS Balala was proposing that we have 81 counties. I remember one of the reasons why the regional government failed was the scramble, the fight over Nakuru and Laikipia. It was a fight between the two communities. Some people thought Nakuru should be in Rift Valley or North Rift or South Rift. Another group felt it should be in Central.
And could be the people.
So those are the issues that actually we should have addressed. But the third tier would have worked if in 2010.
At the inception.
We crafted it along the Boma's draft. It would have helped us even manage the cost.
We're talking about different things. Moses, still, do you think the governors have a point anyway?
First of all, as someone who understands history, it was not Rasaga Amoth who was the first one to talk about this issue. If you go back to the devolution conference 2018, it was actually Raila Odinga who mentioned it first in Kakamega. And I think that's on record, so we can't argue about that. And that time I said that I could understand, is it an economic issue or a political issue? Because that's the whole thing about this that time. And unfortunately for Raila, it was a more political issue, trying to persuade the retiring governors to support, his vision about change and all that. So it is actually Raila who planted this seed. Now, the likes of Lasanga and Kingi and all those people who are talking about this issue are talking about it as a next job. As if in a country where we have got almost 120% unemployment, people are still worried about their own personal jobs. As if going home to rear rabbit is anything wrong.
But Moses, that's everyone is worried about their job. Look at the judgment of this position.
23 guys cannot, we cannot be held hostage about 23 guys worrying about their jobs. And there are so many
not
people
all of them
from
will even get those jobs.
Absolutely. So let us do what is right. So now, we need to differentiate between that tier and regional government. Those are two issues altogether. That tier is now where we keep the national government, county government, and regional government in between. Regional government is where we amalgamate the counties. I'll take you back to 2010.
But economic blocks already
There was a guy called Mohamed Babka, I think Mohamed Babka from South Africa, who was part of the constitution making South Africa. And he came here when he talked to these people in Naivasha and in School of Government, those people who were in this process. And he said, even in South Africa, they put three-tier when Mandela was coming in. It has never worked. Never been implemented. It only exists in the book. So three-tier is very, very, very cumbersome. So I hear what Bandy is saying about the complexity of building a road, those are issues are there. But I will agree with him. Once you give it, you cannot take it back. Yeah. However, let's look at California, the state of California. Is 39 million people. We are 48. So we are mostly comparable. They are almost exact to the square kilometer geographical size as Kenya. So why can't we be like California? It is one state with many counties. So Kenya is equal to California, and by the way, California is the 5th largest economy in the world. Yeah. We can be like them.
Yeah.
You know, there's something that you said about Raila starting the debate. Yes, it is true. Raila started the debate. Yeah, but I don't think he started it to please the governors, as you're putting it. I think what Raila Odinga referred to, and which the position we stand as ODM, because we consult a lot, we are not like Jubilee.
Yeah, that's what we have agreed.
Yeah. So now the point that Raila was trying to raise was this, that for us to have reasonable and meaningful governance structure, you need to have units that are viable. That is why you see counties are coming together. You see,
economic
they are also coming to realization that as single units they have challenges. And therefore, although it is late, and I want to repeat that, but there is nothing wrong with the discussing. And
regional governments or economic blocks?
Those are maybe now, you see, because we are where we are.
Yes.
If we can now not create governments, because if we create a government structure, what I would envisage, if we were to create a government structure at the regional level, then we have to do something about the counties. We cannot leave the same government as it is in the counties. We have either to make sure that the executive goes to the regions, the assemblies become regional assemblies, and maybe a constituency which has 4 wards will now have only 2 wards. But are you going to will you succeed in having Kenyans support that? That is a political question. And I think that is why the BBI task force left out this.
They abandoned it.
Yes. Let me just chip into what John Buddy is saying. You know, if we remove all these political side shows, these are very weighty discussions that we should be having.
Yes.
And especially as people who our parents invested in our education to go to school, so that we can be able to tackle the small issues. You know, Kenya is only country we want to industrialize, but we have not conquered jiggers. You know, we can be able to get taste of these small issues and discuss and get,
the jiggers are.
Yeah. Somewhere in water.
I know jiggers in water.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
Senator, you're saying something.
I was saying
yes,
that the discourse we should be having is this sort of discourse. And Bud is right, and Kuria to some extent. But when he talks about sideshows, Kuria has more sideshows.
Yeah,
in fact, I went with him to church on Sunday. We prayed. He said some very nice things about being an AIC member and the churches he built. And then he went and addressed a press conference outside with high-octane politics.
Straight out to church.
Imagine!
You have to respect the church.
That's what I'm talking about. The sideshows are created by people like Moses Kuria here, who ideally should
use... The sideshows are created by this finger pointing.
Yes.
By not seeing the same picture as the country.
And therefore,
and
I would have preferred...
Mutura, as leaders of our time, and as our generation,
you and I,
we have got everything that it takes to look at these issues without finger pointing, without blame games, without us versus them, and people to solve these issues.
Yes, so I would have preferred, as opposed to a report where Moses Kuria and team are planning, imagining, or thinking, or dreaming, where to otherwise, that they can impeach a president. They should have, for example, on the proposal of what we are saying, from Naivasha, 173 MPs, we have proposed, you don't do this and you do this in this document. You know, it makes useful sense.
Mutura, it hurts me.
I know,
you see that, but why do we need to go to Naivasha to impeach a president?
No,
it is cheaper to do it here.
We are saying,
less fuel cost.
Yeah, I'm saying.
Why do you think we could go all the way to Naivasha?
No, I'm saying.
Just to impeach a president whom you did not vote for.
Listen.
Whom I voted for.
Listen.
Whom Badi did not vote for.
Yeah.
Whom Badi insulted.
Yes.
And now you're telling us about impeaching.
But that's why
that's Imame Lishuke.
But
I thought
Moses is saying
Senator has not finished speaking.
No, but you see, Moses is giving me. I have a right to respond. He's saying the president whom Badi insulted. Yes, but the president they are insulting now. Ngunjiri is insulting. Ngunjiri didn't insult him then. Yes, I did. but he's insulting. So what is the difference?
Yeah.
Let us then come together and stop insulting the president, all of us. Moses Kuria, that is the Kenya we want.
Stop this debate about everything about being the president.
Okay.
We have got serious issues in this document.
All right, Senator, let's come back to the discussion. What is the likelihood that indeed we can achieve what the governors are asking? What is the likelihood? What will it take?
Of what?
Getting the regional government.
And a referendum.
What will it take? The people, to convince the people to adopt it and put it in the more refined report, to give it to this committee? What will it take? Because I don't see this. Let me tell you why I'm asking this question. I don't think the people are making this proposal. This is a pitch from the governors.
What do you mean? You didn't hear it from Wanjiko, you heard it from Kingi.
Exactly, but how will they push it? What is the likelihood they can push it?
How they'll push it is a different issue. What I'm simply saying is that it's not born in these documents. The task force most likely thought it was something that they shouldn't put in this report.
But probably they had it.
For purposes of what the task force is going to do around the country for the next 2 months or 3 months, I want to see how they are going to sell it to the people, that we need a 3-tier system, etc., etc. So I'm not worried about the how, because it's really entirely their business. Because it's not here, and they would have to convince the task force to accept it through the people and include it as a question, because it would be a question.
So my point is, this is not a people process.
Which
That's my point. If the governors, what you're talking about, if the governors will find a way of bringing it, it's not the people who want it. It's the
but I want
governors
to be fair to Kingi. You see, Kingi, probably at the back of his mind, what he's thinking is that he's serving his last term as a governor and he wants to maybe get to the regional leadership. But the way he coached it was, to me, clever. And the way the report was brought was that he's saying the people, of course, want federalism.
Yes.
That's what he said. Now, the meeting, the Coast people had a meeting on Friday. So we can't be sure whether this was from the governor and not from the Coast. Because you see, he was reading the resolutions
of the meeting
by the coastal people. And by the way, for eternity, coastal people have always been calling for federalism. Even people who I think don't even understand what federalism means have been calling for federalism, including Rift Valley. The only people who have been opposed to federalism from the world is these guys, the central people. And we understand it. Now, that is why I said, the way the debates got started off was wrong. But it is something that probably we needed to engage our minds to and discuss. The people like Rasanga, that is why I'm really unhappy about the way he brought it. You see, Rasanga asked Kenyans on live television, where am I going to?
Yes, Rasanga.
You know, as if where Rasanga is going to has become a national issue. So that is where this
problem,
which to me I think is a very objective idea that we need to engage.
Let me flip the coin. Let me flip the coin, Mheshimiwa. Mike Sonko, Francis Atwoli have said time and again the president is too young. Where is the president going after 2022?
That is another question. You see, where someone is going, an individual is going,
is a difference.
Is not concern of the people. Remember, I have said, and I've said.
But once you plant that seed in the mind of the voters,
I want to say it here, Ken. Yes. I have told Deputy President a number of times that his being president is not a national crisis. Let him not make it a national crisis. Where Uhuru Kenyatta is going to is not a national crisis. Where Raila Odinga is going to is not a national crisis. Let us create positions for posterity. Yes. In fact, if you read this report, they are saying they are doing a report which Kenyans would be comfortable with for over 100 years. Yes. They are doing it for our children and the children's children. Now, let us think the future of this country. Whoever is going to get into those positions, that is
neither here nor there.
You see, these all
but
of us.
You can't deny sometimes these things are made with people in mind.
Can I say
Sorry?
something?
Sometimes these positions
can
are created with people in mind.
You cannot, you know, that's why the thing about no human is limited. We can't limit their thinking, their imagination. Somebody could be making a statement for whatever reason, for whatever purpose, maybe a selfish statement. But the point is, like Mbadi is saying, it's not a national crisis for purposes of creating a constitutional amendment. Never.
That's how it should be.
That's how it should be.
But that's how it is.
That's how constitutions are made.
Yes.
Yes.
Outside the country, because Kenyans make constitution in a totally different manner. I'm
What do-
sure
no,
even
rather-
the mistakes we made with the current constitution,
Which mistake?
the 20% that was wrong.
Which
Senator.
one?
The 20% that has been said was wrong in the current constitution that they need to correct. Even Raila Odinga said it the other day, that the opponents, the proponents, you know, he spoke about it. So even this 20% that was wrong, I'm sure it was compromises.
Ken,
You see, Ken,
yes. Speak to Mbadi to tell you what happened in Naivasha and what happened by the time they left Naivasha to come to Nairobi. That's the problem.
And
Exactly,
Ken, I
that's the
wanted to
problem,
repeat.
because, yes.
Do you know, Ken,
Compromises.
thinking about individuals
Yes.
is what brought the near war in Kenya in 2007.
Yes.
If immediately after 2002, we sat after that election of 2002, we sat and agreed that this position, we can have position of prime minister, these are
The
the
deputy.
powers, let us work in an inclusive kind of government. But there are people who saw that position as if
It was being
meant for
Raila
someone.
Odinga too much
Exactly.
power. We almost lost this country in 2007. And therefore it is a mistake, and I want to repeat, it is a mistake for anyone, whether it is John Mbadi, Moses Kuria, or Mutula Kilonzo, to think individuals when drafting a document for posterity.
But don't you think that's what's happening as I speak to Moses Kuria? Don't you think that
That
was even the
that
fear
is what
of
is
this
happening.
group?
That is why you hear them saying that ODM is fixed on creating
a position of
executive prime minister.
And you don't think that's what's happening?
By the way, do you know ODM, we deliberately did not take a formal...
Don't you think that's what's happening? Looking at the whole process.
We did not present a formal paper to the BBI.
I'm asking,
for obvious reasons.
I'm asking, don't you think, looking at the whole process and the way the sentiments have been going around and the forums and what has been said at these forums, don't you think that's what's happening? We still have other people in mind.
That
where
is the
Uhuru
problem,
Kenyatta
and
will
that is
go, where
what
Raila
this
Odinga
was
will do.
meant to
Okay.
cure.
Okay.
Yes. And in
But-
fact, the two leaders acknowledged that we are the problem.
Okay.
In fact, they started with the two of them.
The two of them.
They said
Okay.
they are the problem.
Moses.
I cannot agree more with my two colleagues here. But I think where Ken you are heading to is the culture of MOUs in this country. And that was what our BBI process is supposed to cure, where we depended on MOU. Kibaki and Raila had an MOU in 2002.
Yes.
Largely a personal document, a personal agreement between them. Raila and Kalonzo and Musalia had their NASA MOU, which now Raila is jumping out of using the BBI, which is a legitimate game. This is a game of tactics.
Before you talk about Raila.
You know, so the whole point I'm making here, buddy, is about MOUs.
Make your point.
No, wait a minute. You know, for you to see where we are going, we have to see where we are coming from. It's very important part of our history, you know. So, broken MOU, Kibaki, Raila, broken MOU, Raila and his brothers in CORD or NASA. So that we need to cure that by creating permanent positions and permanent institutions within our constitution. And that's what we are talking about here. But let me talk about now as a villager from Katundu. It is very unfair to expect the president to keep on denying this issue.
Which one?
That these things are being created for him. When Atwoli speaks, everybody says, but Uhuru did not speak. Can you imagine how many people can actually accuse him of wanting to continue when he has said clearly he's going home? You know, it is not fair. It's not right. And it's not fair to keep on expecting someone who has said clearly, 2022, I'm going home. So to expect that every other Atwoli who speaks there, that is the president is going to dispute or to debunk, it's really unfair of a president who is very busy.
Let me tell you what I think is behind some of these issues. There's been a dispute on presidential elections in 2007 and 2013, and particularly in the 50+1. And even in 2007, the question was, what was the margin? Hence the manipulation and the swearing in of Kibaki at night. And therefore, these positions would give room to parties to form major coalitions and have outright victories without slim margins. That is a cure to a divisive election where the margins are contested. The president is sworn in with 8,800. I think that was the margin in 2013.
It was above 50%, not overall.
Yeah, I know, about 50%.
I like to see
the 50+1. The 50+1 will be cured. It was 8,000.
Yes.
The 50+1 can be cured where you have a strong coalition, a big coalition, which
So
has
absolute
which
number
you get an absolute number
Yes.
quickly,
Yes.
as opposed to this sort of thing where you have a slim margin. Everybody,
it's contested.
by the edge of the knife, you become president by just a whisker.
And how can we achieve that, Senator?
We can achieve them through coalitions, and this is one of them.
Okay.
Yes.
Gentlemen, great. I'd like to play the cartoon of the week. I'd like you to give the comments on the cartoon, then we do your final submission.
How do you play a cartoon?
The cartoon will be played shortly. Let's have the cartoon.
behind
No,
me,
it will be right behind me too. Senator Mutula, there's the cartoon. There's the cartoon playing. Yes. All right, that's our
who's that?
cartoon. It's right behind me. I think you can see the closer ones. Mike, if you could have it around. If we could have it. Buddy, that's clearer. Moses Kuria, you can see that cartoon.
Moses Kuria is not here.
That's our cartoon of the week. I see the chefs.
Raila Odinga Jr. But that's a story for another day.
But
These are the chefs.
where is Moses here? He's not here.
Those are the chefs.
I'm there. I'm just ugly.
You're the one in the sheds.
Yeah.
Who is that?
No,
That
the
looks.
other one, the ugly one.
Oh, the ugly one.
Which one?
Why are you looking for Moses? Why are you looking for Moses? In the
That guy wouldn't like me.
All right, gentlemen, let me start from Senator. Your interpretation of this cartoon.
What they are simply saying is that it's exactly what we have been saying, that the politicians, the political class, are running the show, and we are doing this politically, and we are trying to
Koroga,
whatever it
Murkomen
is.
is even in the...
He has been dipped in.
Yes.
He's about
and he's feeding the deputy president.
He's about to become sauce,
Murkomen will kill you for that.
He's about to become a Murkomen sauce.
This other one in the cooking jar or whatever it is. This is more comment, but who's this other one?
Where? The one in
There's
the chef.
another one next to Raila.
In the middle.
Yes.
That looks like...
That guy wouldn't like me.
So now, but I think I agree with this cartoon. We are trying to cook. And these people just come and dip themselves in the food.
Inside.
Who is trying to do?
No, it's you.
You know the problem with you guys, you think you had sexual intercourse for there to be Kenya or to have BBI.
My
Kenya is for all of us.
Can you? It's not possible to block some things.
Kenya is for all of us. And who is we?
Can I tell you something about Moses? When Moses hears about Prime Minister,
he goes
he has
nuts.
to be jittery. Because you see, Prime Minister, if Uhuru was to be Prime Minister, then Uhuru has to be MP for Gatundu South.
Yeah.
So you'd understand this kind of anger. And
I understand it, my friend. Forever.
No, but that is...
Who do you have to be MP for Gatundu?
But you would
What's wrong with the competition?
You would want to be there.
What's wrong with the competition? Don't you think it would be an interesting competition?
You'd be around.
Moses Kuria versus Uhuru Kenyatta.
Around count
my
competition,
God.
my friend.
It's an OSG moment.
Whoever wins, the other would carry the flag for them. So what happens in the contest of
Yes. Moses Kuria would have to accept defeat. The things he always talks about.
Imagine.
And go and start your own church.
Stop spoiling the soup. When we were, listen, this BBI, the reason why...
These guys believe
I'll come to you.
No, listen.
I'll come to your comment.
This BBI has, it came out of a handshake. Yeah. I said that. Listen, we went to the market, bought ingredients, came back home and started cooking. Then when the food is just about to be ready, then Moses Kuria and his team, which have scandalized the BBI process from the word go, they now come and want to spoil the soup. We cannot allow it.
This BBI for the whole Kenya.
We cannot allow it.
Kenyans?
No, but we are.
You go to Uganda,
We cannot allow Tangatanga.
How about Kenya? It's for all of us.
The Tangatanga group cannot be allowed to spoil this soup. And what you want to do,
gentlemen, can you be more?
Can I tell you what these guys want to do?
These guys believe BBI is here.
They want to bring poison to the food. Now, when Kenyans will be suffering, they will blame us.
If this
was starting a process,
your interpretation of the cartoon.
If this food is personal,
no, you can't interpret it.
If this food is personal property,
Spare,
I agree with John Buddy. If it's for the whole country, by the way, hakuna ati mwenye BBI, tumesema BBI is for all of us. Mukata tutaingia huko ndani. Tutaogelea.
Yes.
It's a simple thing. Too many cooks
spoil the broth. Moses, there's a question for you here from Raila Odinga Jr.
Really?
Yes. He says you should be clear on which BBI we're discussing. the Naivasha BBI or the real BBI. It's either you're presenting your views to the BBI because it's an open process, or you're just running a parallel BBI.
You know, my very good friend, Junior asked me this question. So I told
he's already asked it to you.
Even yesterday, and I answered him. I told him, where your father took the report he got from Mombasa is where we'll take ours.
No, yours will not go anywhere. Let me tell you. Let me tell you. I can tell you this.
It's out of order completely.
Look at
you must have rules.
His father received the report in Mombasa. Where is he taking it for him to ask me where I'm taking mine? But same place his father is taking it.
Answer the question without getting personal.
Who is Raila Odinga Junior to ask me that question?
Come on.
Okay. He's a Kenyan.
What?
You represent.
So where is his father? Where is his father taking his report? For you to ask me, where are you holding me on a higher bar?
By the way, Moses Kuria, that is where you get it wrong.
Exactly.
Raila Odinga Jr. only shares name with Raila. He's a Kenyan.
Yes.
He has his mind.
An adult of sound mind.
Right.
Okay.
And they can
I'll start getting used to that.
Yes.
All right, gentlemen, who said what for the week? Let's take a look.
Honestly speaking, however bad I might look politically or otherwise, or whatever people should think, but honestly speaking, I should be given justice.
All right. As we conclude, that's a process. It's a quasi-judicial process, right? What's going on at the Senate? So we may not discuss it into
only
details.
Throw the question back to him. Did he give justice to the people of Kiambu? Okay. Don't demand for justice.
Okay, this is very interesting. From Mutemi Bonoko, he says, at least we know what is in the Naivasha BBI, what was discussed, what Murkomen said, what the parallel rallies and so. We don't know what's inside the real BBI. Do we?
The real BBI is here.
You know the problem. I think the concern
imagination.
Is reading. These things are not available.
Even when before this report came out, the same conspiracy theories like Moses Kuria and that other gentleman were talking about a report. In fact, even a few hours to the release of this report, we had so many versions of BBI.
Yeah, so many.
When it came out, everyone is saying, "Oh, so it is just as good as it." Okay. You know, let us also for a moment trust
what we have.
Some people can do something.
All right, gentlemen, we have 3 minutes to go to the end of our show tonight. I've really enjoyed this show. I'd like to give you an opportunity to close now, beginning with Senator.
In 1 minute.
Yeah, whichever, I'll give you time. Just proceed.
I think the task force had vision where we would create an umbrella, an umbrella of sorts, maybe a wipe umbrella, where we would put everybody under that umbrella and move this cause forward. I think the wisdom of all of us leaders, John Badi being one of them, Moses Kuria, in finding a solution where we can move this process in such a way that we achieve consensus and leave contentious issues for the public, but we guide them into a process where eventually this document is not owned by Moses Kuria, is not owned by me, or is not owned by Mbadi or parties, is owned by Kenyans. The 2010 Constitution, I don't think there's anybody who takes credit for it. Nobody. It's the product of Kenyans. And that is why when they want to amend it, it is their document. And I think we owe to Kenyans to offer them a document that they will be proud of. We are only a country which has not amended this constitution for 10 years. Nobody else has ever done that. South Africa amended their first constitution within 2 months. America
of promulgation.
2 months.
Of promulgation.
It had already been amended. Okay. India has done over 300 amendments. America the same.
So many.
So we have been patient, and Kenyans have been patient with us, and I think that we owe it to them. And I want to thank the likes of Mbadi, my friend, because you've not seen him being a little cantankerous about this process. And therefore, you can bet that Kenyans want to hear his views about what he's saying about the document, as opposed to his views about 2022 elections. Thank you.
But you know, we have procedures junior.
Oh yes, minority.
This guy is junior. You know his party. I have to give some credit to the ODM party. ODM nurtures leaders. This guy was behind me in school, but you can see now he's heading somewhere. Our party destroys leaders. That's a fact. You know, I didn't give it to you. I told Edwin Sifuna in a show last week. I told the Senator Malala. I really admire the way, for us, even if nobody has brought you up and you try and you struggle and you hustle, still people want to bring you down. So really, I give it to that to your party. Now,
thank you.
We still have time. We still have time to come up with a national consensus.
Yeah.
That's my point.
Yeah.
And if we really, and that's why I'm calling them side shows. Yes, we will be in Kitui, but ultimately, you know, that is not
Magwene.
I have just, by the way, I talked to the Honorable Kalonzo Musyoka today and telling him I'm going to be your guest in Kitui. And he told me I'll be there like any other Kenyan. This is for Ngiru and Raila. I was really sad and sorrowful for my friend Kalonzo Musyoka. Anyway, we'll go there, but ultimately, Mutula Kilonzo, that's not what we are going to, this is not how we are going to move forward in this process. No. We need to have structures and processes whereby me and Buddy come up with our respective positions. And there's no mountain, there's no valley that is too wide for us to breach if there are structures and processes.
Well said.
For me, it is simple. As leaders, let us be clear on what we want to do. Let us not today say BBI task force to us is unconstitutional, it's illegal, it should not be there in the first place. Yes, it's a presidential task force. When it brings out its report, then you say it is good. Then after 2 days, you have turned around and said there may be another report. Let us trust other Kenyans that probably they are also genuine and honest in what they are doing. Let's not today start saying these meetings that are being held in Kisii, Kakamega is a waste of time, a waste of resources. Then tomorrow you want to do the same. Let us be clear. Consistent. Let us be consistent and agree that we need national discourse and discussion. And I think that is what we are doing. Somebody like me, I don't have to speak in these political rallies. For heaven's sake, I think I've made a name in this country. I have made contribution. I don't have to speak in every event. Yes. So long as we can have all Kenyans come and given a chance, like Murkomen was given in Mombasa. And by the way, you could see people cheered Murkomen for what he said. How I wish that Korea comes to Kitui, not to laugh at us, but to participate in that process. And so that, by the way, I can even relinquish, if I was to be given chance, and Moses is not given,
it to Moses.
And give it my chance, because everybody knows my stand, so that he can make a contribution. He can also question some of the provisions in this document, so that the Haji team could listen and incorporate it, produce a report that is not going to be divisive, so that even the election become very cheap. You know, if this process is not divisive, if we don't have protagonists, we may have a very cheap election because it will just be an endorsement. It's like a rubber stamp. Everybody's in agreement. You don't even have to have so many agents all over the place and go to UK to print ballot boxes and ballot papers. And we could do it here. In France. Yes, we could do it here. We could have government printers print the ballot paper, and it becomes very cheap. Yeah.
8th of February.
You know, you can't be a prodigal. This is a problem. You know, I told you are a prodigal son. When you are a prodigal son,
all of the guys
prodigal son does not have good conditions.
John Buddy,
my friend.
Now see now.
My friend.
Kenya. So yours is okay, ours is not okay.
No.
Gentlemen.
Kenya, all of us. You have no more rights than we have.
No, Moses.
That's true. Let's do the last part of the show. And 10 years ago to the week, Prime Minister Raila Odinga then got the news that he will be paid after working 9 months straight without pay. Now tonight we look back at that period and the intrigues that surrounded the pay dispute. Now the date was January 26th, 2010. The headline, Prime Minister without salary. Prime Minister Raila Odinga has worked, that's how it was quoted, for 9 months without pay following a dispute in top government administrative circles over his salary scale. Now, the nation revealed then that the embarrassing situation is also being blamed on failure by the members of parliament to give directions on the trappings of the Prime Minister's office, which was created at the formation of the Grand Coalition government in 2009. Now, the controversy over Odinga's salary revolved around two things, and two schools of thoughts. That is the government one which recommended that this pay should be equal to that of the Vice President, Kalonzo Musyoka, and another school of thought that said that, or proposed that the PM's pay should be pegged on the President's. Now, during that period, you're wondering how he survived. Odinga was paid as Lang'ata Member of Parliament, and he also drew allowances as a cabinet minister. And that's a good place to end tonight's show. Thank you so much for watching our program tonight.
I need to correct, it must have been 26th January 2009.
Yes, 2009.
Yes, not 2010.
Not 2010,
Yes.
1 year before that, 2008, yes, a correction taken. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming and sharing your perspective. And I hope you will hold one big rally on the 22nd. or on the 8th,
No,
whichever it is.
22nd. We
Or
have
whichever
a
it is.
plan to have a rally on 22nd.
On 22nd, or the 8th.
Goodwill.
But by the way, the BBI task
programs
force
have been
has
released.
recommended that make as many forums as you can and ask us to come, send
Exactly.
the experts to come and talk. But one
Absolutely.
BBI. Gentlemen, I can't go back to this. Thank you, Senator. Thank you. And thank you for coming for the show. Next week, same place, same time. And I'm back on Thursday evening on NTV Tonight. Have a good night.